Hi everybody, welcome to the very brand new Mumslife podcast. First episode 1. If you guys are new to watching or listening, looking on our Instagram or whatever, I'm going to start out with a little backstory, just so that you know how this all sort of started and began. So Mumslife was born about 2 years ago, and I started an Instagram page as a support sort of group for mums in the local area, and it kind of grew from there. So we have a group that meets quite regularly, once every couple of months. We have done just meetings where we just sit and have conversations. We've done collaborations with PTs who are mums, with a hypnotherapist that was a mum, and done kind of sessions with them and things like that. And the kind of time felt right now to do something a little bit different. And podcasts I know are massive now. So we kind of wanted to branch out into that and have something outside of the meetings that are just for the people who live in the Northeast and come to them, but to have something for people who can't attend those groups that can kind of listen in and things like that. Hope that makes sense. So, who better for our first guest on Mumslife than the mum of the creator of Mumslife? Oh, I wish you didn't have leather sofas. It's really annoying me with this blanket. One second. There's Mike.
Thank you.
Say hello, everybody. Hello. This is Saz. You can wave. Okay. So, plan for today. We are going to look through. I put some things out on the Instagram page for the people who follow. For the people who don't, hashtag MumsLifeNE on Instagram. I put out a couple of polls. And I also put out some questions. So we're kind of going to go through them. We're going to see what you think, what I think, and just have a little bit of a chat around them, really. I'm going to start out with the poll. So I put a question out and then I put maybe 3 or 4 answers and then got the people on the Instagram page to put a vote of whichever works for them. I did all the questions kind of around like childcare, grandparent involvement, stuff like that, in childcare and what kind of childcare and stuff that they have. So I'm interested first of all to see if you kind of what you think the answer's going to be as to which one got the highest vote, if that makes sense.
Right.
You hold the mic to your mouth. Okay, so the first one I asked was, how often should grandparents look after their grandchildren? And the options that I gave were once a week, once a fortnight, once a month, or as and when. So first of all, what's your opinion? And then also, what do you think that everyone on the Instagram voted for?
I think it depends on the situation for the grandparents, really. If grandparents are both retired, then obviously it's a lot easier for them to make that commitment, isn't it? Mm-hmm. If grandparents are both working full-time still, then that makes it more difficult.
I suppose it depends on the situation for the parents as well. How often do they actually need the childcare?
Yeah,
are they needing it for working, or if they're not working, that kind of thing. And
obviously logistics. Mm-hmm. If grandparents are living hundreds of miles away, it's not possible, is it?
Mm-hmm. What do you think that the viewers put? Oh, there was 86 votes on this as well.
Once a week, once a fortnight, once a month, as and when.
As and when, yeah.
I don't know, once a month.
As and when, which I suppose does make sense.
Yeah.
it might work for some people to have a specific, a thing in place where their child goes there every week or goes there every month. But as and when is kind of going to be on like a need basis, isn't it? If you're going out and you need somebody to look after your child, I suppose. Right. The second question was, where does your child care? It was who should instigate or who should be kind of at the forefront of the decision making of when the child goes to the grandparents. So who should sort of instigate it, or who should be in charge of how often that happens? Should it be the grandparents? Should it be the parents? Or should it be mutual between the two?
Mutual.
I would agree with that. Any particular reason? We did get votes for all of them. There was 82 votes, and there was votes in every box.
I think most decisions between two people should be mutual.
Mm-hmm. I think, playing devil's advocate, they're probably saying grandparents on the basis that if they're going to have the child, it should be on their terms. But if they're saying the parents should have them, it should be on the parents' terms because it's their child, maybe. But yeah, mutual got the most votes anyway. 74% of people voted for it should be mutual. Terms was the word I was looking for when I was saying before. What is the majority that you get of childcare from grandparents? So overnight stays, wraparound care, or weekends?
Ooh. If I'm trying to guess the answer, I'd probably say weekends.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Again, there's 80 people voted on this, and all of the boxes got votes, and it was quite close, but wraparound care was the majority. I imagine that's obviously majority of parents will probably work, so the wraparound care is what they're going to need before and after school, I imagine. But it was quite close with overnight stays as well.
So I was completely wrong with that one.
Slightly.
I'm surprised that there's that many grandparents that
don't work. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But then I suppose it depends on whether it's done like on a mix, doesn't it? Whether they've got one set of grandparents that do like after school for half the week because they work part-time or flexible, I suppose. It doesn't necessarily mean it's one grandparent who's off all the time. But then I asked, are you happy with the current amount of childcare that you get? So the options were, I'd like more childcare support, I get an amount that I'm happy with, or I get too much, I don't need what I'm given. Well, 78 people voted on this. What do you think?
Can you read them again?
They want more childcare, or they get an amount that they're happy with, or they get too much. Surely not.
Go middle of the road and say that get
an amount they're happy with.
Yeah.
So it was 78 votes on this one, and it was almost 50-50. So 54% was I'd like more childcare support. 46% said that they got an amount that they were happy with. Nobody voted that they get too much. Interesting. I suppose it totally depends on the demographic of people that I've got voting on my Instagram, doesn't it? Whether I've got single parents, whether I've got parents with older grandparents that maybe don't get much, but it was only just people saying that they wanted more childcare support. And then the last one that I did on the votes was, do other family members support rather than grandparents specifically? So yes, we have other family support, and no, it's grandparents only, or a bit of both. 76 votes on this one. Seems like people got bored of my voting after a while. The amount of voting's gone down.
I'd say a bit of both.
Fair. Again, completely wrong. So 50% of the people that voted said that no, it's grandparent only support that they get. 31% people said that they have other family support, and then 19% of people said they have a bit of both. I would imagine it's going to be predominantly grandparents in most situations because they're the closest to the parents, aren't they? So, like, my first point of call to ask somebody to look after Ollie would be to ask you because you're my closest family member, if that makes sense. But then I don't know if maybe people... Oh, it depends on personal situation, doesn't it? Again, I suppose demographic and stuff.
You pop round and look after your niece quite regularly.
Yeah,
so you'd come under that other.
Yeah, definitely. Like, look at both my nieces actually. I have looked after the other one like 3 times. But then and obviously I'm happy to do that, and I've got quite a flexible job, so I know that helps like people out, and I've looked after like friends' kids and things. And like my youngest brother's looked after Ollie, like more so taking him out rather than like, will you just like look after him? He's taking him swimming and stuff like that. But I suppose it depends on what family members you've got available as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Interesting. Right, the next little thing is I put up some pet peeves that people have about other people's like parenting. So like things that they find annoying that they see that other parents do, which some of them are quite funny. So I kept the funny ones, but there's also some like interesting debatable ones as well. I obviously will be keeping everybody anonymous who voted. So I got... There's some really funny ones actually. We'll start off with the more serious ones, and then I'll do the funny ones after. So there was a few people that said about commenting on what another child can do that their child can't, or like vice versa. So somebody said, when they ask why my child can't do something or struggling with something, and then somebody else said similarly to that, bragging when their kid is doing something that yours isn't. So, like, if you've got children of a similar age or whatever, them saying, why can't your kid do this? Mine can do this and it's great type thing. I can imagine that would be annoying. I think it sounds like an element of competitivity, maybe. Like people, and I always think if people are overly competitive, especially with their children, normally means that they're insecure about that. They're sort of feeling the need to brag.
Yeah, maybe something else in their life they're not having much luck with, and they need to grab onto what they can.
Mm-hmm. I really like that saying where it's like kids are like popcorn and they all go in the pan at the same time, but they all pop at different points, but they're all going to pop at some point. Although popcorn you do have the occasional kernel.
Yeah, but you do have crunchy bits at the bottom.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's the kind of, I like that saying because it does make sense. All kids, they're all going to do it at some point. Every kid's going to walk, talk, write their name, whatever it might be. It doesn't really matter when they do it because they might be excelling in other areas. But yeah, if you are people that do that, don't do that because it's not nice. We also got when they don't let them eat or drink anything fun, like no sweets. That's boring. I mean, I'm in this camp, like, to be fair. It doesn't annoy me when the parents do it, but I'm in the camp, like, Ollie fully just eats whatever he wants, which is mostly nothing. But, like, I've not got, like, a ban on sweets, crisps, confectionery of any kind. But I do know other parents who are a bit more strict about it. I suppose it's each to their own if they want to be strict about that.
And you don't always know the circumstances, do you? It may be that child's diabetic. It may be that child has some sort of intolerances. So, yeah, they can't have a McDonald's milkshake. So you've got to know the full story, haven't you? Why?
Yeah, and I suppose it's people's different beliefs and stuff. You know, obviously, like, my brothers weren't allowed, like, Haribos or anything when they were growing up, but that's because they're not vegetarian. So I suppose it depends. Like, it might be like a belief thing. It might be like a religious reason that they're not eating the sweets, I suppose. But yeah, if they are just doing it just to not be fun, then it's not very kind on the kid. Were you strict with sweets when I was little? I don't remember you being, but
A little bit. I don't think you had as many as other kids did.
I bet I had less than Ollie.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, we are slightly different with parenting on that point, but that's fine.
It was more a treat rather than a course at every meal.
Yeah, yeah. Ollie definitely has sweets as a course at every meal, but you know. Hey. Right, another one. Turning a blind eye to their kids' behaviour and focus on your child's emotional reaction. So I think that's like if you're out somewhere and there's two kids that are playing with each other, like your child and their child, and they kind of not bothered about the behaviour, but they're more bothered about the fact that your kid's upset about it. I mean, I can't think of a situation where I can specifically relate to that because I've not really I haven't had too many run-ins with parents or anything like that, like soft plays or public places or whatever. But I would always say, like, you should probably stay in your own lane. Like, if your kid has behaved in a certain way, deal with your kid and don't worry about what the other kid's doing. Regardless if your kid is the one in the wrong or the other kid is, just focus on resolving whatever is going on with your child and allow the other parent to resolve what's going on with their child, I would think.
Yeah. I think I would struggle to keep my mouth shut if it was something really bad. And yeah, I can say things a little bit quicker than my brain sort of processes them. But
So you're going to be causing fights in soft plays if Ollie gets battered or something. What you're saying?
I think it's more. I think I would be more likely to roll my eyes very loudly.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, and make it apparent that you were unhappy.
And, my face would kind of say it all.
Mm-hmm. People are blinded by the kids a lot of the time, though, aren't they? And they will focus on the other child because they don't want to think badly of their child. So, like, if in this person said that they're turning a blind eye to their own kids' behaviour, people can do that a bit often because you always you do wear rose-tinted glasses with your own kid a little bit, don't you? So yeah, maybe that's why it kind of is. But I would just always say, like, focus on your own thing. Like, take your kid away and just say, look, what happened? Forget about them and kind of focus on how you're parenting your own kid, because you're never going to teach other people to parent theirs, unfortunately. Right, the next one, I like this one. Spend, I think that's meant to be thousands. There's lots of zeros on there. Spend £1,000,000 on their kids for toys, etc. I feel like this is going to be an interesting one for us to debate, actually, because I would say I probably do, well, between me and Darren, probably spend a reasonable amount on Ollie, on toys and stuff. We're not like, oh, you can only have it for Christmas or you can only have it for your birthday. If we go out somewhere, he does get a daft toy. If he's really into something, we will get him whatever he's into. But it's sort of within reason, I think. It's not like he doesn't have loads of toys. Like, people probably would look and think that he does have loads of toys, but he doesn't actually really, in sort of the grand scheme of things, in comparison to what a lot of people do have. He's quite good at focusing on one particular toy for a long period of time, and then he'll sort of get bored of that and we'll move on to something else. And we would wait until he's kind of finished with that toy before he moved on to playing with another one. And I'm also a bit of a queen of, like, if he's really into something, for example, like he was into Peppa Pig for ages and he had all the Peppa Pig stuff. And then when he got sort of bored of Peppa Pig and he got really into PJ Masks, and Aaron was like, I'm going to go and get him a big bundle of plastic PJ Mask stuff. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. But then that means his Peppa Pig stuff's going. And I told him we were going to sell it to another little boy or girl and I put it on Marketplace. So I do kind of think that, especially with, like, bulk stuff. Thought?
I should have just clipped this on, shouldn't I?
Maybe.
I think it does irritate me when people spend thousands of pounds on kids on toys.
Mm-hmm.
One, because I think it's a massive. It ends up as a massive waste.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the stuff's plastic and
not very good for the environment.
No, and people do tend to just bin it rather than taking it to a charity shop.
Mm-hmm.
I also think it doesn't teach the kids very much about learning the value of money and how, yes, you might want a new bike, but that doesn't mean we can just get one after we go shopping. It's something that you're going to have to wait for your birthday for, or wait for Christmas for, or...
It's massively about who you're bringing into the world, isn't it? Like, your kids aren't just your kids, they're the next generation of people, and you need them to have a good attitude to things like money and things like what they want. And I think if you buy a lot now, like, it's only going to get more expensive. I mean, now you might whinge for, or really, your kid might really want like, £5 magazine, and you think, it's only £5, but then it's going to be exactly the same in 10 years, but it'll be an iPhone, and it won't just be, fine, just get the magazine, it's a £5. It'll be like, just buy the iPhone, it's 750 quid. Like, it's not going to work. Yeah, it's not going to work like that. Like, so I suppose it's a mentality, isn't it? Like,
it's that expectancy, isn't it? That the child's then going to, well, you as a parent going to have to live with. And if your circumstances change, it might be great at the minute. You might both be earning a fortune. 10 years' time, someone's situation could have changed completely. They could end up a single parent with another parent gone somewhere and not contributing, and they could have had to reduce their hours at work, but this child's still going to expect.
Yeah. We don't know what's going to happen. Something like, we don't want to think about it, something awful and tragic could happen to one of the parents that could put you in a different financial position, and it's then going to be harder to teach your child to learn about the value of money if they've always had everything. And it does sometimes get into the competitive element as well. Are you buying thousands of pounds worth of toys for that child because they want those thousands of pounds worth of toys?
Or to impress.
Yeah, or because your mate is, or because you're sort of someone on Instagram is, or whatever. And it gets worse on the Instagram thing with like, or social media in general, but on the like, the presents displayed out on the night before Christmas.
Yeah.
And like
rooms full of them, I've seen.
Yeah,
and I've just thought,
I mean, you must be glad you weren't doing parenting era in like big social media times, because it is. I mean, I don't feel like I succumb to it. I'm quite good at taking myself out of the social media thing. It doesn't bother me. I don't care what other kids are getting. I get Ollie what I want to get him. But I can see why people do find it difficult, because you see these piles and piles and piles of toys. Like, it's crazy. And I'm aware I am a very extra, not even mum, just person in general. So, like, yes, I put banners up for Valentine's Day. Yes, I put banners up for Easter. I like to decorate my home for ridiculous events. But for me, it's more about like romanticising the things in life. Like, worry if not for a very long time. Why not make a big deal out of the little things? I'm probably only going to get, maybe 10 decent Easters with Ollie, until after that he just wants like 15 quid in a card and doesn't really want an egg, and definitely doesn't want to do a hunt. So, like, I think, why not make a big deal out of it now, kind of thing. But it's not like a money thing.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
it's not the expense, is it?
No.
I remember working with a girl who, it was coming up to Christmas, and people were talking about what the kids wanted for Christmas and everything else, and I was saying what you wanted, and she was saying...
Is it a Barbie?
I think you were a bit older than that at the time. It was probably a phone. Anyway, her kids she had 3, and the youngest one was 3, and she was saying, I'm really struggling with getting the kids presents. And I said, well, you don't have to you don't have to spend a fortune to make them happy, especially not that age. And she went, no, I can't, I'm struggling with trying to spend the money. And I was a bit confused.
Like a budget you have to spend?
Yeah. So she had to spend, and this was quite a few years ago, this was when I was working in Hartlepool, she had to spend £500 on each child. and she'd only spent £230 on the 3-year-old, and I was just a bit taken aback and a bit shocked, and then she went on to say how he'd already got an iPad and something else and something, and I thought,
but kids don't even know what money is.
3, and if you had budgeted that amount of money, and the kids said, well, I want a pair of trainers and nothing else, and they get a pair of trainers and a selection box, then fair enough. If you have budgeted that money, stick it in a savings account for them to go towards a car or uni or whatever.
It's great. Like,
just
kids
having to spend that money. I have to spend.
Kids don't even know. They wouldn't know the difference between a £200 pile and a £500 pile.
And he was 3.
I know Ollie tried to pay us in the cinema the other day with a 10p piece. Like, they don't understand what money looks like or what it costs or what anything is. Like, so that's just ridiculous. I think spend what you can comfortably spend. Don't put yourself in a position, and make sure that you are spending the money because that is what is best for the child. If you've got like a really good job and you have got a budget of a lot of money and you want to spend £1,000 on your kid, that's great. That's good for you. But make sure that you're doing that because you want to spend that money on your child, not because of social media pressures or because you feel you have to or whatever. Just be spending the money on something for them that they actually really want and they're going to enjoy. And I also think I'm a bit of an experiences over stuff kind of parent. Obviously I get Ollie toys and stuff for Christmas and his birthday and things like that, but I'd much rather than go out and buy him a toy to play with for the day, I'd rather go out and pay us into a soft play or a museum or swimming or whatever and do the thing with him. So like a day might cost me £25 to take him out for the day. I'd rather do that than go and buy him a piece of plastic that's going to cost me a tenner. Because yes, it's more money that it's cost me, but experience is just so much more important, and making memories and stuff like that.
And you don't have to tidy it up.
Also that you don't have to store it in your house. And
yeah, and it's not more plastic.
Well, exactly. Also that. Okay, that was quite a big debatable on that one. Another one, raising their voices and shouting loudly at their kids as a punishment. Interesting. This is personal preference, but we don't shout at Ollie as such. I don't really, it's more so a thing of like, I don't think it's teaching him anything. Saying like, will you raise your voice when you're annoyed? I don't personally think that really teaches him anything. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with shouting at your child. That's absolutely up to you, and whatever discipline you use is fine. But I think if you're using shouting at your kids as a punishment, then are you not trying to make them scared of you?
Or make it a competition so you can shout loudest.
Yeah, they'll probably win. Kids would probably win. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think probably it's up to you how you discipline your kids, I suppose, but you shouldn't be trying to instill fear in your child of you.
No, and I think
sometimes it comes from a place of frustration, I guess, raising your voice.
Yeah, and I think we've all done it, or most people have done it
and
at
snap.
some point.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget raising my voice at Ollie.
I hate it. Absolutely
because he was just about to stick his fingers in those peas that had just come out of the microwave, and I was like, Ollie, no!
Oh, I hate it. Absolutely hate it.
And he got really upset, and I was like mortified. So I thought it was just a reaction thing.
Yeah,
and that
I think
happens, doesn't it?
It's probably our own fault because we haven't, because we choose not to use shouting as our discipline. Like, we don't raise our voice at him. That then, if anybody ever does, for like not necessarily shouting at him reasons, he'll absolutely lose it. But to be fair, obviously, I, as you are aware, I am the disciplined parent. Aaron is absolutely not. So I will tell Ollie off. I'm not saying I don't tell him off. I just don't raise my voice when I do it. I have a conversation with him. But and so obviously Aaron doesn't do either. He just lets him do what he likes. But he did shout at him once, and it was like frustration, and he'd said something, or I can't remember what it was, and Aaron was like trying to do something else or trying to talk to someone else, and he like turned around and he was like, Ollie, I'm trying to talk to somebody, and like he hadn't even really raised his voice at all, and Ollie just totally lost it, like he couldn't cope, and I was like, that's because you never discipline him at all. So like, yeah, I'm bad cop, Aaron's good cop. But yeah, in summary of that one, discipline your child however you see fit. They're your child, but maybe don't try and instill fear in them of you, because all that's mean is they're going to hide things from you and be scared of you, and that's probably not a healthy relationship to have with your child. Another couple that we got that were quite similar were about judging other parents, and like parents who judge other parents. So judging other parents if they've got kids with additional needs, judging people who do screen time, and being judgmental towards parents who are, if their child's having like a moment out in public or something like that. Thoughts? Being judgmental?
Everyone's judgmental.
That is true.
It's impossible not to be.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're talking about shouting about your views on it, then unless you've got experience of it, if you're talking about judging people who've got kids with special needs, if you haven't got a child with special needs, what kind of right have you got to say anything?
Yeah.
Empathise with people, but I think, being judgmental is something we all do. It's how much you shout about it, isn't it? And
I think, I don't know whether judgmental is the right word. Everyone's got opinions, and everyone's gonna, if they see somebody out in public, say if it is like screen time or whatever, and they're allowing their kids to watch loads of telly or whatever, and they may be like the judgmental about like their kids having a tantrum, you might be thinking in your head, oh god, I wouldn't do that. Everyone's got opinions on other people's parenting. You can't say you don't, but you shouldn't be visually judgmental of that person. I think like if you shouldn't be looking down at them, commenting on it, especially if it's nothing to do with you and it's a stranger, because again, it's like stay in your own lane. You do you, like look after your parent.
Yeah,
I could look after my parents.
Look after your parents.
I do, quite regularly.
I didn't realise we'd changed topics, but yeah, well done.
Look after your child and parent how you see fit with your kid. Don't worry about what other people are doing. If they're giving their kids loads of screen time, if the kid's having a moment, if they've got whatever kind of behaviours that they've got linked to their additional needs, allow them to do that, and try and flipping it on its head, like rather than like, oh, I wouldn't do that, kind of see it like, I wonder why they do it like that. I wonder if there's a reason why they do that, or something like that.
Ignore it and crack on.
Well, yeah, if it annoys you that much, then that's fine. But I think with the like a kids with additional needs thing, obviously Ollie doesn't have additional needs. I don't really have any experience with kids with additional needs. Obviously, I've met children with additional needs, but I don't have any necessarily experience with it other than like links through work and stuff. But like I'd be interested to know how do they manage that, and how do they cope with that, and how is that different from what I do? What do they have to do differently? Like if you're judgmental of it, don't find out stuff about it. So my friend at work's got two, she might not mind me saying this even though I said it was anonymous, but she did talk in one of the feedback things about kids with additional needs, and her child has a diagnosis of additional needs, and I've learnt loads about that like through like talking to her, because obviously Ollie doesn't, my nieces and nephews don't, so I haven't really come across it. And it's been really nice to actually learn stuff about it and learn how she parents totally differently to me, because she has to. And different things mean different things for her, different for me, and things like that. And how she has to change her attitudes and behaviours towards her kids because of the additional needs that her child has. So learn about it instead of being judgy, maybe. Could be a good bit of advice.
I think it. You can turn around and come away and bite your lip and roll your eyes very loudly and all the rest of it without doing without upsetting them, can't you? I think so. I have memories of you saying, "Well, why can that little boy do whatever and I'm not allowed?" And you've got your own reasons, haven't you? You just have to explain why.
Yeah, and you don't have to necessarily do it in a way that's going to make that other parent feel, that their way of doing it's wrong. So, like thinking about the screen time, if you choose not to give your child screen time, then that's absolutely fine. You see, it depends what you class as screen time. If you allow them a certain amount of screen time, then that's fine. If you just let them watch what they want when they want, that's also fine. But if your child's saying, well, somebody else is watching this for so long, or I want to watch telly like this other kid does, you can say, well, I choose not to do that. That's up to their parents. And you don't kind of have to be like, well, it's wrong for screen time. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be like that, does it?
Okay. That'll get difficult when they get older.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing as well. But that's
at the age of 13, when your child's telling you that everyone else in the school is allowed to go to nightclubs and stay out all night. And wow.
Yeah, no, the weather is
windy.
Not the background noise for today. Right, I'm going to do the last a couple of funny ones now then. So I got calling the kids the baby when they're like 9. Do you know what? Sometimes I've accidentally called Ollie the baby to Aaron. But in fairness, I only have Ollie, and so he is the baby. He's still the baby. I don't think I would do it to anybody else, but maybe just to Aaron.
You've said it to him.
Oh, call him it all the time. Yeah, he's always my baby. I tell him this all the time. And even he says to me, why do you always call me your baby when I'm not a baby? But you are, I'm afraid. That's quite a funny one. I wouldn't dream of doing it out anywhere, though. And also the baby. I might call him my baby, but the baby?
This makes me think of
Smithy and Nessa, Neil, the baby. Then he might be stuck with it forever. Let them have dirty fingernails. That was another funny one that I just thought was a bit of a random thing.
No, it's something I can't bear anyway, so no.
Yeah, take care of your kids' personal hygiene. Although, to be fair, I do think kids are probably often going to be a bit minging. Like, they don't have the same... Like, you can clean them up, obviously, but like if they've just come from the park, like they probably will have dirty fingernails.
Yeah, if they've just got dirty, then just clean them.
Yeah. Or like Ollie always has dirty fingernails after he's eaten a Kinder Egg. Somehow he manages to get Kinder Egg up his fingernails. Who knows? What other funny ones did we have? Oh, there was a nice one, though, to be fair, actually. So the question I put out was, what is your parenting pet peeve? What do other parents do that winds you up or annoys you? And somebody put, honestly, nothing. I don't let other people's parenting bother me. It's up to them.
Let them.
Let them, yeah. I think that's a nice little sort of summary to that activity. Because, yeah, it is just do you, hon, and just let other parents parent how they want to parent. And you parent how you want to parent and leave it like that, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, that's quite a nice little sort of. It's quite a nice little place to finish off. That I think. Thanks for being our first member on our podcast, and thank you everybody who has listened. If you've got this far, well done. The plan is that we're gonna do some more of these. Might mix it up with some different guests sometimes. Obviously, I'll be putting out quite a lot of interactive stuff on the Instagram, so people can get involved in like the polls and the questions that we put out there and we chat about. So, follow the Instagram page #MumlifeNE, and then you can get involved, and you might hear your question pop up at some point. And obviously you can get involved in like the polls and the voting and things like that. But thank you.
Bye.